So I want to read you a little bit more from Martin Armstrong, which is armstrongeconomics.com. He has these little blog posts and whatnot, and he's got one that's very, 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 very long, super long. I'm going to post the link to this, though. This is actually posted May 22nd, 2011. It still shows his little chart with the year, the dates and everything on there. It's a fascinating read. He delves so deep into history and empires and when they were collapsing, and private debt always gets spiked first, then public debt, then it gets spiked, then this big gigantic reset occurs. Forms of government change, like a republic we were given back in 1776. Again, that's just a cycle. Different forms of government come and go. I've done the same video for about 3 or 4 times now. It's called The Cycles of Government. If you want to search for that on YouTube, JSNIP4 or Realist News, The Cycles of Government. It's not that long of a video. It goes on to talk about some of these philosophers from way back in the day, how they pretty much mapped out the types of government, and that, by the way, this thing called democracy is actually a sub form of government from another garbage form of government. And it's only temporary. It may not seem temporary when you realize it may take a couple hundred years or 300 or whatever for things to change, but nonetheless, they are temporary. And Martin Armstrong actually makes the same case here, not because of that, but because of his own research. This thing is pages and pages, but it's charts, pictures of coins, dates, times, ancient times. Just everything. This is like incredible history right here. I'm looking at this one thing from 1372 BC, 1063 BC, 754 BC, 443 BC, 134 BC, and then 175 AD. And each time it's the same cycles, same patterns, same length of time roughly. Private debt, then public debt. Private debt spikes, then public debt. Public debt spikes, reset occurs. Private debt, same amount of time goes by, spikes, next. Public debt, same amount of time, spikes, reset occurs. If you could see a chart that goes back to 1372 BC and has the same 309.6 year wave cycle, which he actually drew this thing in 1979, 12/15/1979, is one particular chart with those BC dates on there and whatnot. But see, the bottom line is none of that. It doesn't matter when it was made. If it's a 309.6 year cycle, or wave as he calls it, it is what it is. So when I was telling you yesterday about his other thing where he was talking about the real estate on the same chart, the same numbers, in the year 2032.95, I think, so in other words, just about 2033, we have real estate from now, starting right now, and going all the way down, not looking good for the next 16 years. But that also ends, that exact same time ends this 309-year cycle. So we already had the public cycle start in 1981. That he's talking about this debt, and then it peaks. And then we have this next set coming, which we're in now, and it's going to be peaking. But I think in his chart, it peaks as we get closer to that 2032 date. But it rapidly, peaks as in goes crazy. Like, oh my God, this is insane. So that takes a number of years. So we might be entering possibly that phase right now where helicopter money is out of control for the next several years. But I want to actually start with an interesting thing he put on here, that he referenced a guy, and I think he was saying, we talk about Einstein and this guy and that guy, but there's some actually hidden gems of people out there that never saw the light of day. They did a little bit, but not like, Einstein and some of these other guys. He's got this guy, I'm not sure how to pronounce this, Christian Huygens, 1629 to 1695 was his birth and death, was a Dutch mathematician, astronomer, and a physicist. This is the man who has been lost to history, perhaps overshadowed by Newton and Einstein, yet whose work has had long-lasting impact upon society to this very day. He's not merely the man who founded wave theory of light, but he discovered the true shape of the rings of Saturn and made original contribution to the understanding of complexity or dynamics in science, the study of action by force upon bodies. His accomplishments do not end there. His keen interest to explore and understand with an unbiased mind's eye as an astronomer led him to perfect a far superior telescope with a new method of grinding and polishing lenses. This has not only allowed him to clearly see the rings of Saturn in 1659, but he had discovered Titan, the moon of Saturn, in March 1655 and was able to distinguish components of the Orion Nebula in 1656. His genius did not end there. He began to explore time, or horo, that led him to try to accurately measure it where it had been the horologe that was the primary tool, which is a sundial. The pursuit of the accurate measurement of time led him to the discovery of the pendulum as a regulator of time and reshaped the world we live in to this day. He is a man of many talents. He grew up during the day when everything was new, and this led often to a dynamic view of the world. His father was a diplomat and friends with René Descartes. This led his father to introduce his son to him, his philosophy, which he published in 1637, entitled Discourse on Method. This Descartes man set forth 4 rules for acquiring knowledge that would serve us well to follow today. And I saw this, in the second I start reading this to you, you are going to think the same thing that I thought. I don't even have to wonder. And that is, all this bullcrap we see as alleged events, Orlando, Sandy Hook, Boston, any of this crap, these 4 points are what we so-called truthers follow, which is why we lead to the conclusions we lead to. That these are freaking hoaxes, they're staged events, there's crisis actors, because we are analyzing all of these things, and when certain things don't stand out as they should, and it's a blaring red alert in your face saying, whoa, this lady's in a freaking studio in a green screen. She's supposed to be a grieving mother down there on site. Would they fly her into New York 5 hours after her son was murdered? BS, right? So here's the 4th thing. I want to start by reading you these 4 things. Number 1, this comes from this guy Descartes, this philosopher. Number 1, accept nothing as true unless clearly recognized as such. Number 2, to solve problems systematically by analyzing them part by part. Number 3, to proceed from the simple seed to the complex. And 4th, to review everything thoroughly to ensure that nothing is omitted. So when all your sheeple friends and Facebook friends, oh, did you hear the news today? Oh my God, nightclub, people got... How many of them, after that conversation with all their bozo sheep friends, actually went out or went right on their computer, didn't even have to go anywhere, and just said, let me get all of the news footage and video footage and eyewitness accounts and everything that I can compile to just see if anything's standing. Nobody's I don't have time for that. I just heard a little blip, bloop, whatever. I saw this lady crying on TV. It's fine. When someone like us who followed these 4 steps, wait a minute, why is she faking crying with no tears? Why are there these lights, like funny studio lights, shining off her eyeglasses, typical reading glasses or whatever? And she's supposed to be outside in a sunny 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, whatever. Florida sun in Orlando. You can see the shadows from the trees behind her, the beautiful sun shining all over the street. Side of her face isn't lit up. That's strange. Should be from the sun, etc., right? This is why most people fail at everything. A lot of people fail. They don't try hard enough. They don't research things hard enough. They quickly react. Knee-jerk reaction. Didn't follow through like I should have. Yeah, I should have did that better. Yeah, you know what? But the truther, if you will, doesn't jump to conclusions that quick. We wait, we analyze, right? But as I've mentioned, I stopped doing the hoax video stuff. I'm Jason at 4 is retired from that stuff as far as spending a whole bunch of time researching that and presenting you video evidence and everything else. So, our Martin Armstrong posted July 11th, 2016 on his site, Armstrong Economics. And he's got a picture of the Titanic sinking, and underneath it says the euro. We are looking at the collapse of Europe unfold much faster than anyone expected or suspected. I have been warning that the continental EU banks are in serious trouble. The negative interest rates have devastated Europe. While trying to stimulate borrowers who are not interested without an opportunity to make money, the ECB, European Central Bank, has wiped out savers, pensioners, and sent cash into hiding, contracting the European economy, not stimulating it. I have also warned that it is the euro which is in serious trouble and that Brexit was the only way to save Britain from being dragged down under as the euro sinks. The Italian banks are collapsing and the crisis is now risking bringing down the Italian government. If they do not bail out the banks, the people will be in revolution. If they bail out the banks, they can only print euros. This is starting to illustrate what I have been warning about. The euro is in effect like a gold standard. When crisis hit, everyone had to suspend the gold standard for World Wars I and II, and then upon the fall of Bretton Woods. The currencies were tied to gold, which they could not increase its supply. This is the same crisis now with the euro. Despite the euro is really just electronic/paper, its quantity is still fixed by the EU membership. No single member state can just increase its supply unilaterally. That would be like trying to maintain a gold standard and one nation revalued its gold to 3 times that of what everyone else uses. That becomes impossible. The Silver Democrats nearly caused the bankruptcy of the USA for overvaluing silver relative to the world in the 19th century. This is why the euro cannot survive. You have sovereign states with their own crises, and that demand measures separate and distinct from other members. This is how the euro system will break. It is extremely urgent that you understand the crisis ahead. This is what will send capital fleeing into the dollar, US dollar. In truth, some will buy gold. That is generally retail investors. Pension funds and institutional investors will buy U.S. government bonds, dollars, and park them at the Fed, or jump in with both feet into the U.S. market. By the time the mess comes unraveled, we will see the world completely change. We are probably looking at a major world monetary reform come as early as 2018. The speed with which this is unfolding is rather incredible. Now that date is interesting because why? 1988 cover of The Economist magazine. Giant gold coin around the neck of the phoenix rising from burning paper dollars. Get ready for a new world currency in 2018 was the date on there. Get ready for a new world currency. 2018, giant gold coin, hint, hint, hint. Whatever's coming will be backed by precious metals. So I just wanted to share that with you because I'm telling you, this guy, Martin Armstrong, the amount of time and research he has invested into this is insane. You should pay attention to this guy. Take care.